This over here is a motherboard that you've never heard of. In fact, if you check out the links in the description below or Amazon, most likely it comes up with nothing. Well, how on earth did you get this then? Well, I'm surprised as well. If you look at their website, you can see that they're doing some amazing motherboards. Look at this Z890 Vulcan W. And we've got the X version as well. The float, look at the design of these VRMs. And this guy here is one of their budget version of motherboards. So let's take a look. Licensing Windows is cheap and easy with Whokeys.com. And if you use the code TN20, you get an extra discount. Complete the purchase, copy the key, and paste it to the activation settings. And you're all done. Also check out their Microsoft Office 19 license and use the same code TN20 for the extra discount. Check out Whokeys.com in the video description below. If you enjoy videos like this, please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. It does help the video perform and the channel perform and, you know, us pay for the videos. So this is the ZVN Z890M Gaming Frozen V20. And judging by the packaging, it doesn't look like something, you know, particularly amazing, but I think this could be very interesting. So this, I assume, is a Wi-Fi antenna. White. Very nice. The plastic does seem a little bit cheap, but is it magnetic? Because it's nice soft bottom over here. Yeah, look at that. It is. Let's take a look underneath. Manual. I always love when the manual comes in paper form. We've got some standoffs and screws for them. A USB extension for some reason. USB 2.0 extension. The front panel extension. White SATA cable and another white SATA cable. The nice thing is there is this nice foam underneath to protect the back of the motherboard. Now, I'm glad that there's a manual in here because if we open the link on their website about this motherboard, but when you go under the support, this is all empty. No BIOS, no manual. Now, before we look at the headers on the motherboard, look at the design. So we've got a gray silver design on the VRM heatsinks and the M.2 heatsinks. We can see that the PCB is a light color, but I'm not sure if the camera picks it up, but the box is a little bit more magenta white. And then the PCB is very green white. So if I take a normal leaf from a page, you can see this is white, this is more magenta, and then the PCB is a little bit more green tint to it. There's 4 DIMM slots, and if you haven't noticed this yet, this is M80X boards. It doesn't go full length, which we usually have here, but this is one of the most interesting M80X motherboards that I've seen because it offers still some of the things that even full-on ATX motherboards don't support. Now, because this is Z890M, this is Intel 1851 socket, which is over here, and that supports the Core Ultra 200S series and the next generation as well, at least. Looking at the headers from the top over here, the first header there is something that I've never seen quite before. Now, the motherboard manual there doesn't mention anything about it, and this is the JFD1 DP HDMI IFX dongle 1 header there. So there's like a 4 prongs and then 3. It says HDMI there, but I believe you can't get HDMI signal with just 4 pins. You need a little bit more than that, and I'm not sure what this there is for. Maybe it's for some kind of a video interface or something. I really have no idea. If anyone knows, let me know in the comment section below. We have 2 CPU power headers there, EPS 8-pin powers, AIO pump header over there, another fan header, 5V ARGB, chassis fan header, ATX 24-pin power supply, front panel USB Type A port. Here it says USB 3.0, but on the manual it says USB 3.2 Gen 1, so 5 gigabits in speed. This is front panel USB, 10 gigabits in speed, 3.2 Gen 2. 4 SATA ports in here. We've got 12V ARGB header. We've got a front panel headers here, a speaker. Interestingly, if you want to add a speaker or something on your computer, you've got these. You don't see that very often these days. 2 5V headers in here, clear simmers header, J BIOS header. So basically this is a jumper or BIOS jumper header. So if you can't update the BIOS in any other way, then if you've got a tool to actually force update the BIOS, then you can use kind of this header here. 2 USB 2.0 headers, COM header, and 2 more chassis headers or fans in there. And then we've got a front panel audio over here. Let's undo these M.2 heatsinks. The top slot only has heatsink on the top with a thermal pad, nothing underneath. Here we've got the secondary slot. just a big thermal pad, nothing underneath, and exactly the same thing on the bottom. I'm not sure if you've already recognized this, but in terms of M.2 storage, this motherboard is insane. I don't think there is another motherboard in the world that is M80X size, but has 5 M.2 SSD storage. So we've got the top slot there, which is PCIe Gen 5, and there's a really nice actual legend here as well that tells you, what this is. PCIe Gen 5, there we go, goes to the CPU. Then we've got the secondary M.2 slot here. This is PCIe Gen 4, and this also goes to the CPU, apparently, according to that little legend there. Then we've got the third slot here, PCIe Gen 4, X4, all of them. 1, 2, 3, them are going to the chipset, and they're all PCIe Gen 4, X4 slots. So altogether, you can have insane storage options here. The fifth one here doesn't have any heat sinks, so perhaps if you've got a M.2, make sure that you purchase that separately, or if you already have it, you can add it in there. Not all slots support 110mm SSDs, but this secondary slot does over here. The other ones don't. In terms of PCIe expansion slots, the top slot is PCIe Gen 5 X16 that goes to the CPU, and this bottom one is PCIe Gen 4 X4. So you can have still your capture card or whatever you want to put in there. Still very, very high bandwidth to the secondary slot, which is absolutely amazing. In terms of DIY, you still have to use your screwdrivers and screws to get all of these off. Inside, you do have a quick release button to actually install the SSD. The PCIe Gen 5 drive on the top, I wish there was a heatsink underneath as well to cool the drive from underneath. Looking at the back side of the motherboard, same thing happening there. Nothing amazing, no cover, no slots. Next, the I/O. Firstly, we've got 2 display outputs, which are HDMI and DisplayPort out. So these come from the iGPU. Then we've got a tiny little slot just underneath the HDMI, and there's nothing inside, so I'm not sure why this is cut out. Maybe they're repurposing like the back ports of some other boards so that there is another BIOS or clear CMOS or something like that in there. But the BIOS update switch is here, so you can update the BIOS by USB flashback, just putting your USB drive with a BIOS on in there, press the button, and Bob's your uncle, you could really go for it. I really like that they have labeled how many gigabits the ports are. So you can see this USB-C port is 20 and that one is 10, meaning this is USB 3.2 Gen 2 X2 slot, whereas this is USB 3.2 Gen 2 slot. Then we've got 2 5 gigabit USB ports, another 5 here, 4 altogether, and then extra 2 here that are 10 gigabits in speed. But interestingly, they're all the same color, even though these bottom 2 should be, other motherboard manufacturers make them different color just to show them that these are 10 gigabits in speed. 2.5 gig LAN. We've got the Wi-Fi antennas here, that's Wi-Fi 6E, and also Bluetooth. And finally, some audio ports, mic in, line out, and line in. Now then, you might find this motherboard somewhere. And if you do, it's a very special one, especially if you're a creator or someone who needs a lot of storage. 5 M.2 SSDs and no switching, no other like losing something if you go with that one. That's really amazing. If you want to check it out, I'm going to leave the link in the description below. I don't know if it's going to be available right now. It isn't. Maybe by the time you're watching it, it is. But if you want to build yourself the best bang for buck creator PC, it's a bit further down in the video description. You want to save some money? Build those PCs, always available and relate to the latest, most relevant video for you. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.